Okay, so we're good to start.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't get the pronunciation of your surname very well again.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Sonali, Shirpurkar.
Okay.
Shirpurkar. It's fine.
To-
You can say Sonali.
yeah, thank you. Welcome. Sonali, great time to have you. I just explained, we already have here in our midst here our community live from Dubai community. Later on, all this recording, all this stuff would be played across all our business communities. Some in Africa, some in the US, some in United Kingdom, and it's good to have you, right? So we're looking at conversations around leadership dynamics in the workplace, and we believe that leadership has gone is pretty much the most important thing when it comes to personal development, organizational growth, and the quality of leaders you have in your organization will determine to a very large extent the leadership, how your company will lead globally. And so because of this, we believe a lot has happened. A lot has happened in the recent past with the involvement of a lot of people do have leadership based on competence, right? And they are leaders because they're competent. Some are leaders because they are older, right? So leadership because they are older, some because they are associated with the leadership. So naturally, if someone is the son of the CEO, he doesn't start from the ground up, right? He naturally assumes the leadership role in the office, right? And we believe a lot has happened in the recent past, and we want to see what's your take on leadership. You could take it on any side. The floor is yours. I'm not going to interrupt you. The only time I'm going to interrupt you would be if I want you to emphasize a little bit more on some angle. I want us to look at it from expectations from leadership, from the company, financial, personal, collective growth, everything as much as possible. Let's see how we can get it done. I'm not going to interrupt you on this.
Sure. So, hello everyone, and greetings from whichever part of the world you are. So, my name is Flt Lt Sonali, and I am from India. So, I have a 16 plus years of diverse experience. Apart from military, I worked in corporates and schools and bank and different areas. And finally, I stepped into business arena. So, I'm into trainings and corporate trainings as well. So, I'm going to start with a small story, and I'll also tell you the two reasons behind that story. So maybe most of you may have heard of it, but still I'm going to reiterate it. So once upon a time, there is this king who's very knowledgeable, and he has acquired a lot of knowledge from various sources and various dignitaries and experts and everyone. However, he feels that he needs to learn something more, and then he goes to a saint in the mountains. So when he reaches that person, the saint doesn't utter a word. He just asks him to sit down, and he says that see, I have, sir, I have all the knowledge, and now I want to get more from you, and then become very, very expert in the subject matter and all the things rather, because I'm a king and I need to look after my subjects. So I need to know everything of everything. So he says, okay, sit down, and he doesn't utter a word. He is into his own meditation mode. And then he's offered a tea. So when the cup is offered, the one of his assistants, he starts pouring the tea in the cup. And once he starts pouring the tea, it starts overflowing. The tea, he doesn't stop. So the king gets startled. He says, oh, please, hold on, hold on. It's already spilling over. Why are you not stopping? So that is the time the saint says that, see, you came here to learn something, but before learning something, you need to unlearn. So unlearning is extremely important. If you come with a mindset that I know it all, then you are never going to learn anything new. So, similarly, you have to come with an empty cup or an empty mind to learn something new, unlearn something which is not required or which is excess, and make space for something new. So, the reason for sharing this story are two reasons. One is that I personally do not consider myself as a leadership expert because I think I'm a student for life, and it's something you keep exploring, learning throughout life, and maybe even 20 years down the line I'll still say I'm a student, so forever. And secondly, that even I believe that leaders of any position should be very, very, very open for change, to learn something new from anybody and everybody. So that is how I would like to start.
Okay.
And yeah.
So, in your very view, what do you think has changed in the leadership environment? In your opinion, what do you think has changed in the leadership environment? If you could cross-reference maybe what it used to look like, um, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, and what do you think the leadership dynamics of the present environment looks like? What do you think, in your opinion?
Okay. So I think the things have changed a lot positively in a way that people are now more aware. However, there is still a lot to be done because, this is a skill which is not really taught in schools or colleges. And just like, any other subject is taught. For example, if there is an engineer and if he's supposed to work on machines, so you don't just go and hand over him a machine and tell him, okay, now start working. You teach him or her, and then they start working on it. However, what happens in leadership is that uh, when you work well in an organization at a junior level, you're promoted as a leader. And then you are just told, okay, now you're a leader, and everything is expected out of you. So that dynamic actually needs to be little bit taken care of. Nowadays, it people are much aware. Like I myself do a lot of first-time manager trainings or senior manager trainings. So why it is needed is because you cannot just focus on the numbers or the productivity. People management is also extremely important. So I think to a certain level, yes, it has changed because people in organizations have become more aware about their surroundings, about people, and where they are heading. And for good leaderships, they need all those set things. So I feel that yes, in a way, positive changes are there.
Okay. So, in your very opinion, do you reckon we could because what I believe in the business leadership environment is we've seen competence come to very people of younger age, right?
Mhm.
Naturally, for you to get to the office of a senior executive or at a certain level, age plays a huge role. But with the advancement of technology and accelerated learning, we've seen people in their early 20s come into very significant positions in leadership. And do you think this has changed the dynamics of leadership? How do older people fit in with leadership of younger people in the environment? Do you think the leadership that is predominantly competence based but not experiential based can lead an organization to success? And how do we manage interests across board?
All right. So I think it's a very interesting question because leadership itself uh, is pretty dynamic in the respect that we have various leadership styles. Like, as we all know, maybe transformational leadership, transactional leadership, authoritative, autocratic, democratic, bureaucratic. Now, what happens is that one particular style or one particular pattern doesn't hold on for too long, or you have to change it according to the situation. Now, as far as you say, older people who are, experienced and all, so they have come a long way. The basics will remain same, according to me, always. Being empathetic, knowing your people, knowing your surroundings, the understanding the problems. These all basics will remain same. How you approach could be different. Now, when experienced people work, they work at times in a different way. And when the younger generation, or when the young blood takes in, they want to make changes too fast in a too short time. So they feel, okay, I'll change everything. In that speed, maybe they at times forget to take care of the people. Now here, two important aspects I'm going to highlight. One is, when do you want to solve the problem for your team? For example, there is a very famous story, of a that comes to my mind, of a butterfly. So when a boy is, looking after a cocoon, and when the butterfly is slowly coming out of it, so struggling to come out of that silk cocoon and getting into its form, the boy becomes very anxious. So he's standing there looking at it, and he says, okay, fine, I'll take some time. He goes back and again comes after some time, still the butterfly is struggling. So he feels bad about the for the butterfly, and then he cuts through the cocoon and let the butterfly come out. To his surprise, it's all, it's not in its form, and it has lost its original shape. So what happens is, the butterfly actually gets its power from the push of that cocoon, and the fluid gets into its wing, and then it's able to fly. So similarly, a leader needs to stand by and see when to pitch in for the problem. If it starts, too much interfering and too much giving solutions, the people are not going to be that equipped. So they will lose their own thinking power or creativity, and they will be too much dependent on the leader. Secondly, also there is one, I can say an example that, with respect to, as you said, experienced people, how they operate. So there is a kind of scenario when you don't know things, when you know it all, when you don't tell, and when you listen always. So in this scenario, what happens is, when a person is experienced, he knows a lot of things. So quickly going to share one incident. Is that one of the CEOs of a big company, he is interacting with an intern, and this intern is very uh, excited, and he shares an experience that, I went to Switzerland for the first time, and it is like this, and I did this work, and the company was like this, and he starts, it's very excited, so he speaks for almost 15 minutes. Now the CEO has visited globally multiple times. So he sits there and listens patiently, and then he appreciates. And after that, the intern moves on in the party. So his PA comes and tells him that, sir, you know everything. Like, you've seen the world. So why didn't you tell this person that you know everything, and you've already been there so many times? So he says, see, for me it is multiple time, but for him it is for the first time. Also from him, his experience, I learned something new. So I think when you demarcate between experienced leaders and new leaders, this way of the thing of patience and taking it very tactically comes into picture. So I'm not negating that the young blood or someone who takes it young is very harsh or very spontaneous, but these small aspects could be overlooked at times. It may happen in their zest of achieving things too quickly and zealously. So that's my thought.
While you were speaking, something came to mind as
Okay.
regards leadership, right? Everything we do in life is about taking leadership. At some point, we have expectations of our children or of our world, people who are subjects or who work for us. We believe that after a while, after being spoon-fed, you should mature and start leading, even at certain capacities. And something just came to mind that now we're talking about younger ones coming to leadership positions, but one is also asking the question, how much of the next generation is willing to take leadership positions? Has it come to their mind to make a switch? Or do they think they are still going to be spoon-fed, right? It's more pretty much like we have a generation that are leading, but they're not, the gap, there's what they call a generational gap between the present leaders and the next generation leaders. And the tools for the leadership is completely different. I've just mentioned this just to buttress the point and also to lay foundation for the next line of conversation, right? And obviously, I'm very keen on that's something that's being said. They said every successful person on earth, over 90% of them do have morning routine, right?
Yes.
They know that I wake up by 5 a.m., I do this, I get this done, and I get all these things sorted out before 7 a.m. And pretty much that's self-leadership, personal leadership, right? They've gotten to the point where they could lead themselves. And when you lead yourself, you can now expect outcomes from people, right? But we are dealing with a generation that has been spoon-fed. There's no reason to wake up in the morning because there's basically everything being sorted out for them, working government and technology at their behest, and I mean, they have a most powerful tool in the form of an iPhone or a technology around them. So they're pretty much enabled, right? But they've not led themselves. Okay. It means that their leadership competencies are supported by tools and devices. If you pull out their phones from them, over 70% of their leadership competencies is gone. If you pull up internet from them, they can't lead anything, right? If some of them can't even engage physically in the workplace because they are better off behind the screen, right? So they prefer to work from home, but they cannot strike conversation. They don't have conversation starters. They don't even know how to, like we had a conversation earlier, how to be a power dresser. Yeah, they don't even know little things that do add up in the equation. Now that's that I'm asking. As much as we're looking at what the leadership environment of the next generation is going to look like, we know that the people who are going to lead both in client and then service rendition and product offering are going to be the generation that is predominantly in their 20s right now. Now, in your opinion, how ready do you think this generation is ready to lead the dynamics of the next generation, right? And that's just to add a little bit of point. Some of them are what I call digital nomads, right? Digital nomads don't want to live in a particular place. They just want to float Airbnb with their devices and internet. The next day they're in Bali, the other day they're in Dubai, there are times they're in London, but no consolidation around who they are, no character, no path of direction. But they're pretty much outcome driven. They could get you the numbers. Tell me your opinion. Do you think the world is a better place? How the next generation of leadership is going to impact the workplace, and how this whole conversation with the next generation will look like? Give or take is basically what we're going to work into as an observations here.
Yes, I think very important aspect what you brought out is, however, I feel that it is not their mistake also that they are in this part of the century where a lot of AI and technology and things are building up. However, I feel that there is only one word which can, make or break what they want to do. So according to me, that is clarity. Clarity of their vision, clarity of their thoughts, and clarity of what exactly they want to do and why they want to do. So what happens now is with the young generation, even if it's like both sides, whether you are master of the gadgets or slave of the gadgets. So how you take the advantage of the situation is up to you. Now, these people, yes, definitely they need a conversation. They need to be guided in a certain way because a lot of information keeps floating online. and it's at times scary. Also, it's half information. So a person who is had some experience or is elderly and in the field can always be of help, because personal experiences cannot be valued or matched with technological guidance. So that is one part, and your personal experiences are one part. So I think yes, definitely the young generation is good to go, and they can do wonders if they take it in right spirits. So again, it's their thought process, it's their mentality, it's their surroundings, it's upbringing. A lot of things are there, as you said, discipline, because having a routine for themselves and having a non technic tech day or detox, as we call it, it's extremely important, because they have, at times they have a FOMO, fear of missing out. So every time being on the social media, oh, you're not on Instagram, you're not on a website, you don't have a website, you're not on Facebook, is something that eats them up rather than you're not in gym. So I think they start creating lot of lot of these things because of their surroundings as well. So being level headed and being true to your roots is extremely important, and I think the way they take it is is what needs to be seen, because they have a lot of advantage apart from books, apart from online things, apart from the technology, the experience of people with them. So I think they are much well placed in terms of leadership if they have to take it ahead, or provided they are ready with an open mind, as I said, ready to take that in right spirit. Only then it's possible.
How important do you think time management is in the leadership conversation of the workplace of the future? How important do you think time management is? I mean, you could give a little bit of elaborate further on that. How important do you think it is?
Oh, extremely important. It's like I've always feel we manage time and the time shouldn't manage us. So no doubt about it, because as you start working, as you start growing in your position, earlier I always used to feel, I mean, in my growing years, that why do these presidents or prime ministers or people in the higher position, they do nothing. They have people around them, and they have PAs and secretaries and a lot whole of people, and they just sit around and give orders, and it's so easy for them. However, with time, I realized that it's not that way. It is because the time is important for them. They are decision makers. And now, as an individual, if I keep uploading my post, if I keep writing letters, if I keep inviting people, if I do those jobs, if I keep up my files, it's not possible. I'll be entangled in those things. So for me, that time is crucial, and I need to have my team in place, and I need to do what I need to do. So here I think, with terms of time, the discipline aspect comes in very much. Like, for example, I'll give you a very small example from my military background. Like, whenever we used to have these, technical breakdowns, it is counted in seconds and minutes and not in hours, because the system I was working in, it used to give signals to the ATC, that is the air traffic controllers, who are handling the planes. Now, if the system is down and the plane is already in air, you cannot afford to have it down. So it's not about day or night or afternoon, or whether you had your lunch or dinner. It's not about that. It's about that time, and the timing is, how much time the how less the technical breakdown is, the period is. So I think that discipline of waking up in time, meditating, having your health in is priority, your mind and body, and first of all your mind, because it's extremely important for all of them to have their mental stability, Nowadays, slightest of problem, they get disturbed, and next step is suicide. So I think, it's extreme. Okay, I failed, suicide. I didn't get this job, suicide. My girlfriend left, suicide. So I mean, it's not the way things work. It's not end of the world, and that's where resilience, how you build resilience, getting back, and it's all interlinked. Your personality, your time management, and how well you spend your time with, on what part of your day you spend with what, reading books, exercising, involving learning new skills, upskilling. So that's how I feel. It's extremely crucial. And once, as you say, once the time is lost, you can't get it back. So
We're just discussing the other time with some of our colleagues in the office, and we're looking at the impact of resilience, and grit. And basically, very few people get it right the first time, right? It's about multiple failures and picking up yourself and giving yourself another reason to fight another day. And it's pretty much what I call the one of the basic frameworks for leadership, because you're going to believe in people, you're going to trust them with tasks, you're going to delegate tasks to them, and they're going to disappoint you. That is pretty much the life of a leader, right? You're going to give people tasks and they're going to fail you, but you're going to give it to them the next time. It's
yes,
not about giving up. There's a lot of resilience required. There's a lot of resilience in pushing. Leadership is not just about leading people. It's not about leading a business. It's not just leading self. It's not just leading in thought patterns. It's much more than that, because it's all multifaceted, right? And
yes,
at times, it's the ability to stay alone without compliments, without being understood all the time. You could be misunderstood. And like I always say, the grit is what happens when you can't even share the burdens of leadership to people around you, right? They don't know what you're saying. The burden of leadership is the fact that you're thinking, this is where this business needs to be in 5 years or in 10 years. And
yes,
we keep playing with the tools we have right now. We are not ready for the next 10 years. And we have to make certain tough calls that could be completely not misunderstood by everybody, right? Not understood across board. You are going to let some people go. You're going to hire some new hands. You're going to implement new technologies, and the truth that that this is what it could be, and you try to do it, is not a guarantee that you will succeed. So you could also try it and fail at it. And at that point, you're not going to get a lot of support. People are not going to say, "Oh, thumbs up that you did it." They are looking at outcomes. You made a very important decision for the organization, and it didn't turn out too well. Leadership is about learning how to pick yourself up, even against all odds, and say, even though I failed today, we'll give it another shot tomorrow. And then experience becomes one of the best things we need to work with. And but something that is pretty important, I need to ask you one more. I don't want to overshoot our time, and it's just to ask accountability structures, right? For leadership, we we know that nobody's an island. It's been argued across intellectual spaces that we're a summation of 5 people we spend the most of our time with every day, or the people we have the most conversation with every day, and that's an accountability structure, right? If you do not have it, you might not be able to withstand certain obstacles. But do you think is very important, and how what's the level of importance the accountability structure plays in leadership in the workplace?
okay. So for this one, another story comes to my mind for accountability, and I'm going to narrate that. So most of you must be knowing Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He's been a great scientist in India, and also the president of India. Now he's no more. However, he's been an excellent, person, a very humble person, and a very knowledgeable person. So one of his stories goes that while he was working on one of the satellites launch, and that time Dr. Satish Dhawan was his head, his boss. So what happens is that this team fails miserably in launch. Now in the press conference, it's a huge thing because the government money is involved, the government time is involved, everybody is looking at you, and the nation is want answers. And Dr. Kalam was the head of this project. So what Dr. Satish did was he went over there and he asked Dr. Kalam to step aside, and he told the entire press conference that it's me who I'm responsible, and it's my failure. And I couldn't calculate what went wrong, and all those things. So he took the onus on himself. After a few months, when they successfully launched the missile, after that, uh, in another press conference, Dr. Satish stepped aside and he let Dr. Abdul Kalam take the stage, and he gave the entire credit to Dr. Kalam and team. That it is because of them that everything happened, and they are the ones who worked hard, and it's because of them we are successful. So I think easier said than done. As a human, uh, as humans, we have this ego, we have this vulnerability, that if something goes wrong, even as child, you see, in our house, even if a glass breaks, the sibling immediately says, I didn't do anything, she did or he did. The other person will say, I didn't do, she did or he did. So we are ready for blame games right since childhood. It's our mentality, or it comes naturally that I am perfect. I want to be in good books of everyone all the time, and I don't do anything wrong. So it takes huge courage for a person to admit and be accountable, as you said. First of all, to accept as a leader, to accept his mistakes and face it that, okay, this thing has gone wrong, and fine, we'll do it right again. I take the responsibility, and as a team, you need to stand by me and we'll work around things. As far as team is concerned, I think it is also a leader's responsibility to motivate them to be accountable in all the respects, because it won't come naturally. When they know why they are doing what they are doing, they will be more uh, when they have when they have a space to voice their opinion, probably they'll be more accountable to what they are doing. You can't force things, or maybe you can just force up to a certain level. After that, it has to come from within. Otherwise, that accountability and responsibility is a tough job in a team. You also being a leader, I'm sure you will resonate with this, that it has to come from within of a person.
Okay. So the last thought, so it's been a very amazing conversation. The last thought I'd like us to deliberate on before we call it a day is, what do you think are the metrics for measuring leadership, and what are the metrics that should be used to measure leadership and the workplace? What do you think?
I only think one thing, of course, the results will show, the productivity shows, but the people, if you see around how happy the people are under one particular leadership, then I think you can measure it, because the work is done by the people. And if the people are motivated, they are happier, and they understand the leader understands them, then everything falls in place. So the measurement, according to me, if I feel, is the behavior of the people, how they respond under a particular leadership. Because automatically, yes, of course, if if you measure that, or if you see that, definitely the results will be there, the numbers will come up, the productivity will be there, and so many things will fall in place.
No,
So
but just to interject for a while, it's normal that humans don't want to work hard. They don't want to push themselves. They don't want to. In fact, they would rather have leadership that wouldn't put them under pressure to become the best version of themselves. right? It's natural that very few people would gravitate towards leaders who push them to become the very best they can be, but they will gravitate towards the one that give them a lot of room and pat them at the back and make them feel like the world is a beautiful place. So how do you measure that? Because if you buy if it's by how the people react and how the people, if they're happy, then happiness could always will not be determined by the people most of the time. But how do you measure that?
Uh, no, exactly. What are you trying to say? I mean, I didn't get your question. Could you
I'm
repeat
just
it?
saying there could be a possibility that people would tend to be happier under a leader that doesn't push them to maximize their capacities, right? And because when leaders push people to maximize their capacity, naturally they are hated, right? I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story. I once had a mentor that puts me under intense pressure, right? I worked with him and I would do a couple of PowerPoints and send to him and do stuff. And that's the best I could do. And he never gave me a compliment. He just told me, what's this? What's this? And at the time, if you looked at me, I would literally not be happy hanging around him. In fact, at some point, I worked with another lady that puts me under intense pressure. You know, I will send an email of work done and everything. And I spend lots of time doing this. And I send the email around maybe 10:30 p.m. to get asleep. 15 minutes after, she's gone through it, cycled up the areas you need to do this, improve on them. Like, wouldn't you let me sleep? Would you let me rest? But at the time, if you had seen me, you would literally say that I'm under very wrong leadership. But fast forward years down the line, every day I look back, I always say, if it wasn't for these people who pushed me to the limits, then I wouldn't have discovered a version of me that I didn't know was there. Now, if it's that, that's just to for clarity on your answer. If anybody saw me at that time, you wouldn't say I'm under the right leadership. But years past, posterity has proven them right, that if they actually saw something and they pushed me to the limit so I could discover the best version of myself. So how do you use happiness as metrics if the people
Okay.
can determine?
Okay, I get that now. No, I never meant that you keep the people always happy and in their comfort zone. That's exactly when I explained that story of butterfly. So the leader will always, he has to understand that where to push and where to pull. So in a way that he or she keeps asking questions to the team, make them more creative and give them that space to struggle, to learn on their own, and also provide the support whenever and wherever needed. As you correctly said, yes, definitely that strictness is required, or that harshness is required at time. However, you have to understand how far you need to stretch it, because if it goes beyond a certain limit, there has to be a balance. You need to understand the mentality of your people, and you have to be there with them. You don't push them to do something which you cannot do yourself, which you cannot perform yourself. So don't order just because you're a leader, and just don't give them tasks which you yourself cannot do. So again, this dynamics will come into picture when that graph of when the strictness has to be there, when that some personal space needs to be given, or when he or she can be more close, and you try to understand their personal issues as well. Because if a person is having some personal issue or a major one, they will not be able to focus on their work. So even if you try to push them, they'll be somewhere disturbed, and it might lead to something horrified. So that's the job of the leader. It's not only about pushing them always, it's also striking a perfect balance. So that is where the flexibility comes into picture. He has to understand the patterns of inconsistencies in the work, the speed, the agility, the courage, everything is mixed. So yes, as you said, It's about, when I mean it's about people, it's not about keeping them, oh, happy, happy, yeah, come on, you have a treat today. No, not like that. It's about how self-motivated they are, how happy they feel, even working hours for you. And why do they feel that way? Because you are a leader of that stature, and you have that charisma that you are able to hold on to even the toughest situation. I feel that when people understand that a leader will stand by you in any circumstances, he will not push you, that is the time they will work for you throughout.
Very important, very important, very
Yeah.
important. That's
So
when
this
people
again.
realize
I mean,
that will
a
stand
quick.
by them.
Sorry, I'm just going to give you one very quick small example again from my military days. So when I joined my unit, and I joined as directly at one of the head of that unit department, because the radar was under repair. So there was no work for 2 months, and I was the sole officer, technical officer over there. So immediately on day two, my commanding officer, he gave me a task of getting a big truck around from somewhere, from one point to the other. And there was a lot of mud, and there was a lot of, due to rains, it was quite, the soil was very soggy. And I was not able to calculate the radius, the turning radius. And I was not driving myself, I was instructing the driver, and it got stuck at one point. And for that one particular reason, the commanding officer took me on task, and he I mean, like, scolded me very badly. So like this, multiple times, one, two, three, four mistakes I kept committing. And finally, when my senior technical officer stepped in, I mean, after a month or so, he came. The CO immediately asked him, the commanding officer, that what kind of officer you've got, that, she's not capable and she's not able to handle anything. And this was my very first month in the unit. So I was I had to come across this, and I heard all this. And what my senior technical officer said was, sir, I assure you that she's very capable, and I'll take care of everything. You don't have to worry here on. And you will see that how she changes now, and I take the entire responsibility of whatever she has done till now, whatever mistakes. So though I was not aware of the system completely, and I was doing tasks, as and when it came, when I saw this happen, that my senior boss stood by me, I went all out, and I literally worked 24 by 7 after that. So because just with that one faith, that if anything goes wrong, he's going to be there. So I think the leaders need to have that.
That's a very important point. Every leader, including myself, is a takeaway for me, right? Just to reassure my team that no matter what it is,
Yes,
I'm there.
because it's extremely important.
That's
Yeah.
a good one. That's a good one. Thank you very much for the time. We appreciate every bit of it. We hope to have you another time on this
Sure.
podcast,
Pleasure.
and we wish you well. And if we will, by the time we get this video broadcasted, we could everybody in the community and across all our communities should connect with Sonali on LinkedIn and any of our social platforms, and improve your leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's absolute pleasure being on the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great evening or afternoon.
You too. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay.